welcome back to Spectrum TV. I am Karen Tui Boys, your host, and I am a champion for lifelong learning. And this series 2 of Spectrum TV is focusing on relationships and resilience tips, just to make your teaching and your well-being and your life sensational. So please let us know in the chat box if you're here and tell us where you're from, because we'd love to know where people are beaming in from. And if you're watching the recording, you can do that as well. But, you know, in these uncertain times, wherever in the world you are, whether you're in level 1, 2, 3, or 4 of this pandemic lockdown, there's an opportunity to stop. There's an opportunity to take a breath and reflect and just see how we're really showing up in the world. But there's also an opportunity to continue learning. And I love this quote, and it says, "Never stop learning because life never stops teaching." And my guest today is the wonderful Melanie Vasey. So hi, Melanie.
Hello.
And she is someone pretty special. She is a communicator. She does the 5 love languages appreciation at work. She is a a celebrant. So if you're looking to get married, she'd be a wonderful asset to your wedding. And she's a creator, a speaker, and she's just newly launched a website called Love Letters Express. So she's going to tell us about that a little later. So Melanie, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. And tell us a bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Karen. So to recap the hats, I am a speech coach and presentation trainer, a marriage celebrant, and now, most recently, I have taught the 5 love languages taken into the workplace, which is called the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, because they thought they should go easy on the word love at work. And lastly, I am, yes, the chief writer and creator of the new business called Love Letter Express. That is very tied in with the love languages.
Wonderful. And so tell us, how did you get involved with these love languages?
Well, the story goes quite a few decades back. Now, I'm sure everyone can relate to a story where their children fight like cat and dog. So my mom used to say to my sister and I, "You're fighting like cats and dogs today." And we did. We competed heavily for her attention when we were children. But we were in our teens when my mom passed away from cancer. And after that time, we were close, best friends. Suddenly, the triad was broken up and suddenly it was only us. Now, one time we got together and we were talking about our mumsy and how much we loved her. And I launched in by saying she gave the best hugs in the world. She was always there to scoop you into her lap when you were little. She was even there to scoop me into her lap when I was 21 and I had a breakup. She was so kind with affirming how well you were doing and how your personality attributes, that you were bubbly or intelligent or you were going to go far in life. And my sister had a funny look on her face. She said, I don't know that woman. So that was a real interesting moment. Very shortly after that, I was walking through a bookstore and I happened upon the book, The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. Opened the book, did a bit of reading and thought, that's it, this book's going home. And that's when I learned that my love languages were the same as my mother. Physical touch and words of affirmation. Whereas my sister's primary love language was quality time. So she wanted one-on-one time with mom, but there I was sitting on her lap.
Hence possibly the competition that was happening.
Absolutely the competition. And I think that probably plays out in families all over the world.
I absolutely think that's true. So how can people find out about their love language? How do you find out what you might be?
There's books. The primary book was written back in 1992, so that's now available in the wonderful used bookstores. But the 5 Love Languages has a website that people can access to do a free quiz to find out what their love language is. So there's one of 5. People normally have their primary and their secondary as the most dominant. Words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, gifts, or quality time. So people usually have a first and second dominance with wanting to express their love and appreciation in those ways, or wanting to receive love and appreciation in those ways.
So tell us a little bit more then about each of those love languages, because physical touch, what does that mean?
Okay, that might be the person who can never tell you a story without grabbing your arm. Karen, I saw the most amazing thing the other day. This is the person that hugs you hello, hugs you goodbye, and hugs you in the middle.
Whether you want the hug or not.
Absolutely. Yes, they hug you to thank you. They hug you to say hello and say goodbye. They're the person that just touches you lightly on the shoulder when they're going to tell you something. They're the person that loves snuggles. They love to hold hands. I'll give you an example of my boys when they were little. My youngest love language, quality time. So he would play happily outside for an hour, but when he needed to connect, he would come into the house and wrap himself around my legs and through his legs like he was a cat, and then just disappear. Whereas my other boy, whose love language is quality time, his first 2 words were "Mummy, come." So I didn't even have to talk. I didn't have to touch him. I just had to sit in that sandbox and watch him. Yeah. So teachers online might find that these are the kind of personality aspects that play out in a classroom as well. Who was the student who always brings you a chocolate chip cookie because they've got extra? They're expressing their love for you by a gift. Mm-hmm. Who is the child to help stay behind and tidy up the classroom for you? They're the child that wants to show you they care about you by an act of service. Who's the child that won't stop touching you or hangs onto your jacket or wants to be around you at recess? Physical touch. Then there's the child who tells you you look great today, or they notice that your jacket is a beautiful color of green, or that you got your hair cut and they say it looks nice. And let's see, the last one, acts of service, quality time. Quality time. Miss. They want to be around you all the time and they want your attention 100%. So I believe that as teachers, we definitely can offer kindness and show children that we care about them by honing in on the way they show us they care about us.
Yeah, so that's the key, isn't it? What someone does for you is usually what they want to receive.
Absolutely.
So I have a very special friend who I went to her house a few weeks before Christmas. This is a few years ago. And she had this beautiful candelabra on the table. And I went, "Oh, that's beautiful." And she said, "Yes, I bought it for you for Christmas, Karen, but I've decided I really like it, so I'm going to keep it." Now, she said, "I did go back to the shop to see if they had another one, but they didn't." Now, I've told that story for years now, and she rolls her eyes every time I tell her I've told the story. But the point is that she bought something that she liked, because that's what we do, isn't it? Often when we go buying gifts or when we go try and show appreciation, get something for somebody, we buy something that we like. And here's the moral of the story, though, for the viewers. If you buy something and you keep it, don't tell the person that you kept it or that you bought it for them, but you're not now giving it. Because every time I go to her house, I go, that could have been mine. And I tell her I'm going to put my name on the bottom. She can bequeath it to me, but one day. But yeah, so how you see children showing up in your classroom and what they're doing for you will be those 5 love languages. So that, again, they are physical touch, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, and gift giving. Is that right?
Well done, yeah. Yes.
So
only 5, easy to remember.
Only 5, yes. I know that it makes a difference, has made a difference in the relationships with my own children, understanding, because like your son, as you described, my son used to say, "Mum, come and sit on the couch with me." And I'd sit on the couch. And then after a while he'd say, "Mum, should we turn the TV on?" And then he'd go, Mum, should we play a game? But he wanted to have that quality time and just for someone to be there. Interestingly, now he's 20. He's not really like that anymore. He's a gamer, but it'll come somewhere.
And it probably started around when he was 15, I'm thinking.
Yes. So the question is, do we change, or do we just move in and out?
Well, I think just like personality qualities as well, we can change over time. And I think we can also change according to what we are getting. So if quality time is your absolute love language and acts of service is the second, these days, as you mentioned before, we are in challenging times. And when we are in isolation, we can't receive quality time with someone. We can't have their undivided attention. So people might then decide to choose for their second love language. And I think it does develop over time. Yeah, for sure. It can change.
Or maybe we get more comfortable with who we are as well, and how others are giving their love to us as well. So what about in a relationship then? Because I happen to know that my husband's language is physical touch. So he always has to touch me or has to cuddle me, and particularly on those days I'm tired and I'm just like, oh, just leave me alone. But he happens to know that mine, and if you're watching, honey, this is a reminder, but he happens to know that mine is acts of service. So if I come home and the bed's not made, or, I have to keep asking for the dishwashers to be emptied, then if someone does it without asking, I'm like, oh, that's just like wonderful. Someone brings me a cup of water or glass of water because they know that's what I drink without asking. That's my acts of service. So how does it play out in relationships?
First of all, I have a question. You know that feeling of being uplifted when you walked in to your bedroom and the bed was made, or when someone just has a glass of water waiting there for you? That builds you up so much inside, Karen, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm really a firm believer of not that the cup is half empty or the cup is half full. It's that the cup be overflowing. So when your needs are met in that way by a simple bed making or, dinner prepared for you, whatever it happens to be, you then are more willing to say, all right, let's have a cuddle then. You're tired because you're topped up.
Yeah.
So our tolerance goes up. This is likewise in the classroom as well. It can play out there as well. So in relationships, I have a funny story about a couple I knew who his love language, probably to the exclusion of all others, was physical touch. And he said, well, what's wrong with hugging? She says, not every time you cross the room, though. So just get one into him, and he thought it was great. So, Question again, you asked me what was?
So again, how does this play out in relationships? And I love that idea of that if your love language is being fulfilled, you are fulfilled, and therefore your tolerance level is better. But I think there's a interesting part of this is that there's no point in sitting at home and watching this and thinking, oh, I wish he would, I wish she would. I think there's also some fulfillment in making sure that you meet your partner's needs. So instead of blaming, taking responsibility, because when their needs are met, they will be able to meet yours better. Would you agree?
Yes, and I also agree in the age-old saying, it takes two to tango. Yes. So relationships aren't lived in isolation. And if both people are willing to learn their love language from the simple online quiz, it's revelationary for relationships. Yeah. Revelationary. Yeah. A few words of affirmation. And I'm amazed at the number of men who are willing to do the test as well, because they want to feel good as well. They want their partner or wife to know that when they come home from work, dinner's made and the house is tidy, if their job is to be at home for the day. Or they want to know that if a clean car means the world to them, then one day they come home and the car's been washed and vacuumed. Little things like that. When both people know, they're communicating on a whole different level. And it just keeps elevating the relationship.
Yeah, I think that's true when both people know in that communication, because because otherwise what happens is, I can say this early in my relationship, I get angry that the bed hadn't been made, and my husband's like, it's just a bed, it doesn't matter, we're going to get into it in a minute, soon, and I'm like, but it's not for me. And so that was the angst and the pressure that used to happen because we weren't communicating. But now he knows, I know that he needs to have couch night and snuggle time. So I make time in my diary to make sure we can do that. I don't get so the crossing the room thing. I don't get so cross when he's walks past me and has to hug me or touch me or come down to my office to say hi. So I think that's really important. And also with your children, I happen to know that my daughter's love language is gift giving. And so the first question she would always ask me when I came home from a trip was, what did you get me? And from the outside, that looks really rude, and that looks like, she's just wanting things all the time, but that was her love language. And for many, many years, just the lolly off the aeroplane or the little jam from the hotel was the restaurant was fine. Or she needed to know, hey, we're going to have, her second one would be quality time. You and I are going to spend some time and go shopping. She loves op shopping. We're going to go op shopping next weekend. And then she knows. So that's those, when you understand, you can help fulfill them as well.
Yeah. And that's when relationships really become strong. Both people are filled up all the time. Now, there's an interesting aspect as well, where in a training situation for a workplace, we talked about the languages of appreciation in the workplace. So they're just disguised. They really are the love languages. But it's about, so in a workplace, physical touch might not be hugs. Of course, that's relationships. But it's the person who likes to give you a high five. It's the person who says, good job, and they kind of give you a shoulder bump. It's the person who doesn't mind bumping into you because they actually quite like the touch. So there was a situation where I was training a bunch of girls, and everyone knew each other. And one girl was very well-to-do, very pretty, and very kind of proud of herself. Let's put it that way. Now, when we did the online test for languages of appreciation in the workplace, she came up with words of affirmation. And a couple of other girls came to me and said, we're not going to tell her she looks good. It'll just go to her head. She's going to be like, we'll never get her out the door. But I said, think about it this way. Her ego is not filled by not telling her she's doing well, or her sense of appreciation is running a deficit if you don't appreciate the things she's done. It's not about her looks either. It's about that she's done a good job, or that she handled a situation particularly well in the workplace. When you do value and appreciate those things about her, she will be so topped up that the conceit or the arrogance or whatever they were picking up on will not show. People who are valued and appreciated will always do more than is expected. You'll get the best out of people, and that's what we all want.
We did a test at Spectrum here with the team a while ago and worked out what our love languages were, and we got these 5 symbols, one for each of the love languages, and we photocopied those and cut the 2 out that were our main love languages and put them on, the team put them on their computer screens, just on the edge, so that you can really quickly just look and say, oh, that's that person's love language. It reminds me, because probably the one I find hardest is that words of affirmation. And I always say to the team every day, thanks for everything, thanks for the job, thanks for being here. But that's not enough necessarily. So I say,
squeeze it out.
I really love the way you persisted at that task today. I appreciate it. Or I love the way you got that marketing piece done and look at the results of that. So being able to, I've had to really practice that. And so that would be true too. We need to be aware of the ones we're not so good at.
Oh, Karen, accolades to you. Accolades for that. For being self-aware and for being able to put the time into practice. To have that little mental note that says, she needs to hear that today.
Yes.
Well done. See? You are amazing.
It makes a difference to the team. And there was a time years ago when I had a bigger team than I have now, every single person's love language first one was physical touch. And I wondered if I had attracted them because my husband's is too. I didn't know. But it was an amazing office because every time I arrived in the office, everyone would stop and come and hug me. And so it was like hugs all around first thing in the morning every morning. It was a little strange when I first encountered it. But, these are my employees. These are people who work with me every day, but they would hug me. So maybe we attract certain styles as well. I don't know.
That's a whole nother episode.
Okay. That'll be episode 3 point something. So tell me, how do the love languages change or make an effect in this whole COVID world right now? You mentioned, when we're apart, when things are challenging.
Let's take a look at how our world has changed first. So people who love to get together for a one-on-one coffee in a cafe haven't been able to do that as easily, most recently in Auckland. People who hug a lot are starting to wonder if maybe they shouldn't be so close to somebody. People who love to connect are now unable to connect in person, but they are having to connect on a screen. And their studies have shown that that's very stressful for us because as human beings, we are constantly reading even an energetic vibe around people. And we can't get that through a one-dimensional screen. And speaking of screens, think of people whose quality time is their love language, and they have everyone around them focusing only on this. Yep, Karen, it's a good interview. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yes.
We are really vying for attention. And studies have shown that the number one love language for men and women alike, the most common, is quality time.
Interesting.
The second for men, can you guess?
Physical touch.
Yes. But we're going to try and stay away from Wyatt's physical touch. But I think everybody needs cuddles. But so there you go. But what is the second one for females?
Gift giving?
Acts of service.
Oh, okay.
So I made up when I was speaking on the 5 love languages, I made up some hacks or some simple words that would help people to remember when your love language is something, what do you need? And I'll give you another quick little example. I have a friend whose love language is gifts. So randomly and for no reason, she would post me a gift, something little, or she would always make sure you got a card at Christmas, a card at your birthday, and a gift. However, knowing that her love language is gifts, I would return the favor. But guess what? I never got a thank you because she didn't recognize that my love language was words of affirmation. It's really interesting. So even among friends, we have to work this out. The online questionnaire thing is free. Everyone can do it.
And we'll put it in the chat so that people can see and get the link. So thanks. Yeah.
Please do. We'll probably shut the system down. So many people will be looking for it. I think it's cyber hacking.
That's all good. So when we're restricted, and I know many of the viewers know my story in New Zealand, when we went to lockdown the first time, I was isolated from my family for 6 weeks all by myself. So no physical touch whatsoever. No acts of service. I had to do everything myself. But we worked out ways to do things. So my daughter and I would play a game online, quiz game. Can't even remember what it's called, House Rules or something. House Party. So we played House Party, and it was a bit of quality time together. They sent me cards, and so there was a bit of gift giving that happened. And while it's not my biggest love language, it was still lovely. My husband and I, our friends, got a bit sick of this. It was a bit like each day we would send a love song to each other via Facebook. And our friends were like, oh, we're just over this. But that sort of helped fill that need and that gap for the love that was the physical love that perhaps wasn't there. So I guess there's creative ways to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm. I think also the isolation and this whole shock globally of COVID has started to dent our humanness or our basic human needs. we're starting to, I notice people are suffering. And there's a level of worry and discontent and fear. So if there are only two base emotions that humans can feel, do you know what the polarities are?
I'm going to say love and fear.
Very good. Absolutely. So from fear comes all, worry and hatred, anger, depression, all of those things. But from love, we get respect, gratitude, helpfulness, kindness, adoration, affirmation, willingness, all these good things. So I want people to not get too uptight about the word love. The ancient Greeks had 6 different words for the word love.
Oh, wow.
So there's man and woman love, romantic love. There's love between a parent and a child. There is love for humankind, or universal love. And each of those types of love have its own word.
Oh, sort of like there are many words for ice if you live in a place with, built igloos and things. So
The
Eskimos. Yeah, so wonderful. Melanie, as we begin to finish up, tell me about your new business, Love Letter Express, because I'm really intrigued by this.
Thank you. Very exciting time for me. So based on the love language words of affirmation, and also based on the love language gifts. During lockdown, lots of time on my hands, and I noticed that there was so much fear. There was worry and there was fear. Coupled with that, I had designed a way of honoring a couple at their wedding by giving each partner a questionnaire about the other. And from their answers, I crafted a love letter. So from you to Denny, and one from Denny to you. I didn't let them see the letter, but I read it as a part of their wedding ceremony, saying that we had a special privilege today, and the honor was that we got to read out loud this couple's wedding day love letters to each other. Invariably, so much joy and so much laughter and so many tears came from these letters. And people started to ask me, oh, wow, that's interesting. Maybe we could do one for somebody else. So it wasn't just between couples. People started to get ideas of a letter that they could have written. So the idea got started that we could spread words of affirmation for anyone who wants to honor someone, but just can't find the words. People have said to me, I know I should thank her. I know I should tell them what a good job they do. I know I should, but, I'm too busy. I wouldn't know what to say. I can't get around to it. Oh, they probably wouldn't like it anyhow. The results are amazing. Not only the giver of the love letter enjoys it, but the receiver as well. It's an equal thing. Words of affirmation often just go flying by. We appreciate them, but we can't remember them. So when they're written down in the form of a letter and maybe received in the post, you've got a gift that keeps on giving.
You've just reminded me that we've just done a big clean out of a couple of rooms in my house, and we found all the old cards that had been kept. And when the children were born, I made a folder of all their the firsts and all the birthday cards they got up till their first birthday, and newspapers. And my son keeps that really close to him. And my daughter's like, oh, you can throw that out. And it's probably part of her love language. It might also be part of that whole teenage thing of, I don't care. But both my children letters to them before they were born.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I had a relationship with them. I knew who they were, and we'd already named them, and a little bit woo-woo maybe for some. But yeah, so when they're 21, I'm going to give them those letters. I can't remember what it says in them. My hopes and my dream for them. So similar, I guess, to that love language idea, love letters. So
yes, absolutely.
So Melanie, where can people find out if they want to find out more about getting a love letter written?
Well, worldwide, they can access our website, www.loveletterexpress.co.nz. So they can read sample letters on there. There's one from a 11-year-old to her grandmother. There's a fiancé love letter. And there's one to an employee that I call the Love What You Do letter. So it's not confined just to family relationships. They buy their letter, they decide how they'd like to have it sent, because we can post them within New Zealand, and they fill out the questionnaire. The questionnaire comes to me, and within a few days, their recipient gets their letter.
How beautiful. So, Anna's just written in the chat, not long to wait for one of those letters, Karen Tui boys. Oh, thanks. Are you going to write me one, Anna? That'll be awesome. Look, Melanie, thank you. And again, in the notes, and I know you've given me a couple of handouts, so we'll put the links for those so people can download them and find out a bit more about who you are, what you do, and the love languages and appreciation languages in there. And so they'll be in the chat notes. And I also want to let you know that we have a new page on the Spectrum Education website, and Melanie has previously written for the Teachers Matter magazine, and so she's got an article, so I'll try and fish that out and put that in the notes as well, so you can actually read her article. But if you go to the website, and I'll just put this up on the screen, you can download a free copy of this Teachers Matter magazine by going to SpectrumTV, subscribing. Oh, Anna's clarified her thinking what I was saying. So you can go down to that link there, download this magazine, and then we'll give you updates of future episodes. So again, thank you, Melanie, and wonderful to know that you have taken the time to be able to give us some ways that we can build our relationships stronger. So thank you so much. For everyone else, next week I'm interviewing Rachel Marks. Rachel is a friend and a personal trainer, and so she's going to be talking about how our understanding our genes and our makeup can actually help us be more resilient and even help us with our relationships as well. So that's going to be a really interesting one, because it's quite new neuroscience that she's delving into around the health and fitness, but also understanding who we are through our genomes, and we'll find out more next week. So I look forward to seeing you there, same time, same place, next week on Spectrum TV. And I wish you to stay safe and well, and keep learning.